Friends, it is June in northern BC, zone 3 gardening. It is June 6th today, so it's not even our last frost date yet. We had frost this morning. It was -2 Celsius, which is like 27 Fahrenheit. So, I haven't even showed you guys our garden yet this year. And if you're new here, we have 4 different garden spaces. So I'm going to take you on a tour of all the different garden spaces. If I'm being honest, it has been not an amazing gardening year so far. Number one, we were going to move, and I did announce this on Instagram, but not YouTube. We're not moving now. There was a lot of interest in our house. Like, we put an offer in on a place, and that's why we listed our house. A lot of interest, and then it just completely died off. And, you know, we think probably to do with the really high interest rates right now. And you know what? We just prayed that the Lord would give us a very clear answer on whether we were to stay or to move. And we just felt like it was so clear that we were going to stay. So we kind of didn't get the garden going as early because of that. Then it was like super hot, and then it went to being cold and freezing again. Hi, Amos. So it's just been a really weird year. So we're going to start with the berry garden, which, to be honest, I have not been in weeks. And you can tell. You don't got shoes on. Yeah. So when you first walk in our berry garden, there is a massive haskap bush. It is huge. Is there little berries growing? Well, don't pick them till they're ripe. And then I have not weeded the rhubarb once, and friends, I don't even care. There is rhubarb, 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 rhubarb. It's not quite ready to pick yet. It's close. It's close. There's also lots of horseradish. We're also growing thistles, right? Of course. Freya, could you go get his boots? So we have lots of horseradish as well, which Marius did do something with last year. So there's one variety of raspberries here. This was here when we bought the place, this space. And then over here is all the rest, which needs some help. But friends, it just was not in my bandwidth. I just did not have the excitement about gardening this spring. In here, there is, you can see, asparagus. Next year we can pick asparagus. You can't pick asparagus the first few years. So there's lots of asparagus in here. There's also lots of grass and thistles. So normally at the point in the year when we couldn't quite really be working in the vegetable garden, I would be like getting this all nice and mulching it and tying up raspberries and doing all those things. And at that point we were getting our house ready to list.
Actually are not right.
There's no raspberries yet. You're right. So at the point when I would be doing that, we were getting our house ready to list. So I put no effort into the berry garden, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be this year. Is as good as it gets. There was an ant nest in here, and Marius managed to kill it. He like dug up the center and then poured boiling water on it, and he got rid of it. So that was good. Because I actually did come to work in here one day, and I walked in with Amos, and there was so many ants. I was like, I can't leave Amos in here to work with me. So there's berry garden, garden number 1. Now let's go on to garden number 2. This next space is a favorite of mine. This is the kitchen garden. This is our second vegetable growing place. Our main one is down there, and I'll show you, but we're just walking in order of where we're walking here. This one started because Marius planted so many potatoes in our big garden that I was like, where am I even planting my lettuce? And I was like, I'm going to till in the front yard. And he was like, do it. I hate lawn. So this was a lawn, and I tilled it in. I tilled just like a square the first year. And with mulch and such, I kind of made beds, and it was great. I loved it. Next year, Marius is like, I think we could do one better. And he mounded all my beds for me. And they did really well that year too. And then last year, he was like, you know what? I want to make this like a pretty garden in front of our house. And my husband isn't necessarily one who usually pays attention to aesthetics. So I was quite pleased with that. And he built all these raised beds. And as a team, we worked on filling them. We did like hugelkultur style. So they were lined like with landscape cloth, like a really nice thick one. And then after the landscape cloth, then we did like sticks and branches and such. So that's like the hugelkultur style of it. And then we covered it in like poopy straw straight from the cows. And then we did aged manure, and then we did topsoil, which we bought from a local dairy farm that like composts all their stuff into topsoil. So it was super fun last year, and I love it again this year. So I'll give you a quick tour on what I have planted here. So last year, this space had garlic planted in it because I had planted it the fall before, and then we did raised beds in the spring. We were going to put more raised beds there, but I'm thinking it will be a really lovely space to like lay down landscape cloth and then put gravel and then put a couple picnic tables. What do you think, friends? Do we like this idea? I like this idea. So here along these sides, I have planted cucumbers, direct seeded, and then these are all lettuce that I had started ahead of time. This one is a herb bed. There's a bunch of mint roots. I got given a bunch of mint and it looks sad, but there is really good roots underground. I cut off all the top stuff because then it would just put its energy into its roots. So there's lots of roots. In between all the mint, I did, these are hackeri turnips, lots of hackeri, and then different radishes. Between each row of mints, you can kind of see these like little sticks, and these are where the mint is. Mint, a different type of radish, more mint here, more radishes, and then we have mullein, which I planted from seed, which I do not see coming up yet. This is just weeds. It has been still chilly at night, friends. So there's probably 2 rows of mullein there. And then I planted cilantro, 2 rows of cilantro. Oh, that one got chamomile. I had a herb bed. Oh, and then someone took the next one. I don't know what's planted there now because someone took, oh, probably cilantro. No, we have chamomile, cilantro. I don't know what's planted here because someone took the thing. I did have a perennial herb bed and it didn't survive last winter. So here's a bunch of dill that I started ahead of time too. I like dill to just go to seed and self-seed. Your best results with in our climate, zone 3, last frost date of like mid-June. Cilantro, dill, and spinach. So there's some screaming children, and we don't scream unless there's danger. So it's like, is there actually danger? Probably not. Anyhow, those 3 things do best if you just let them go to seed and they direct seed and they come up like so early you can't even fathom it. But none of those came up this year, so I think it was just our winter. We had like this warm, cold winter that really messed with a lot of things. I planted this as a flower and lettuce bed, and I did that because I want the flowers to shade out my lettuce. So the sun, as you can see, is right here. Where's the sun? So on this side, I have sunflowers. And then we're missing a tag. This is gardening with toddlers. Butter crunch lettuce, and I usually have like a couple rows of each. There's mixed greens, and I do see some of this coming up here. Zinnias, and these are zinnia seeds a friend of mine sends me. I love them. Kale, I see some kale coming up. It was also super wildly dry, but we got amazing rain a couple days ago, and everything's going to take off now. What do we have here? Oh, bread seed poppy. Again, poppy does best if you just let it go to seed. Romaine. Is that romaine? Yeah, that says romaine. And then we have calendula, which I see one has come up there. These are some calendula seeds. I had small children helping me plant, but calendula seeds are quite a funny looking thing. From there, we have spinach, and spinach is coming up all over the place. Trusty spinach. And then here is echinacea. What's up, Amos? You need the gate open? Pull it towards you. Go back to the gate. I'll help you. Go back to the gate. And pull it towards you. Bring the gate towards you. Look at that. You did it. Good job. Yeah, you're in your bare feet still. You left your boots at the trampoline. Why don't you go get them? So beside the herbs need to be planted, there's a peony of Freya's that needs to be planted. You need to go get your boots, sweetie pie, and then I'll help you put them on. Yeah, you can do it. We have our garlic that we planted last fall. There are some spots where it didn't come up very well. I should investigate to see what happened there, but again, our warm, cold winter, you know. You want to water the garden? It's pretty wet. It doesn't need to be watered. Do you like watering the garden? Yeah. So we have some green beans there, mostly because I soaked too many seeds. Some brassicas here of varying sizes. Some of them I like direct seeded. Here, how about I hand it to you and you can play with it? But there's not going to be any water. And then in here we have strawberries. I just planted all these bare roots before I went away. So we'll see how they do. These beds are both strawberries, mostly Albion. Some of them are from a friend. The rest are Albion that I got from Vezzie's. Is it not coming out? Yeah. Well, we haven't turned it on yet. Just wait a second, okay? And then over here, I thought it'd be fun to plant a bit of corn. Sweet corn, which, Amos, you just gotta wait a hot second. I do see the corn coming up. But same as how I did with the flower bed, I planted greens between the corn. Because we're planting so late in the season too, I'm just really thinking about heat in mind. So in between every row of corn, there is some sort of lettuce, like either a mixed greens or romaine, butter crunch, and that corn will help shade it. And I know it's not very much corn, especially those of you who come from corn country, but we're actually farming where corn don't grow, is one saying. Corn does not necessarily grow well here. So I'm growing it because it's fun, and when we do get corn, it's really fun to have your own homegrown sweet corn. But if we don't get it, we'll still have the stalks and we can feed them to the pigs, and they had the purpose in which they will shade the lettuce. I hear you, Amos. Yes, I told you you had to wait a minute. Yeah. Should we go to the greenhouse now? Yeah, let's go to the greenhouse now. So how fun would this space be with a couple picnic tables? Like realistically, our family doesn't fit at one picnic table anymore unless you make really big picnic tables. But Marius prefers to make smaller picnic tables because he thinks they're easier to handle and manage and everything, and then you just have multiple of them. So he's making noise about doing some picnic tables with the boys. We need another picnic table for the deck. You're cold. Let's go get you some boots. I bet you buy their trampoline. So we need another one for the deck, and he's like, well, if we're already like in building picnic table mode, it's not a big deal to then build more. So he would then build two for in here, and I think that would be so fun. You found your camel boots. Oh, and your other boots are here too. Your green winter boots and your camel boots. Sky blue, you leave me alone.
My boots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there we go. There you go. Should we go to the greenhouse? Yeah. Okay, so these, I just realized we were supposed to cover the green beans for added heat, and we haven't. So I should probably do that. In here, we don't have much planted in here. I didn't plant it early enough. Oh, Mr. Guest just arrived to pick up Mac to go to work. Now Mac has been helping a neighbor of ours. He helps them with farm and garden work, and he also teaches them piano. So yesterday at piano lessons, he said, what day could I have Mac for a few hours? I need some help in the garden. So Mac is going to go help there, and it's a great summer job for him. And Mr. Gesh says he always hires homeschoolers because then he can get them working for him in like April, whereas school kids are in school. No, that's a yuck bottle. I don't know who left that bottle here. I think that was Octavia's. Anyhow. No. He can work a lot longer than a school kid, so he always hires homeschool kids. But actually, I need to ask him a question, so give me a second here. So we're making our way down to the big garden, but I wanted to show you our manure pile first, because if you're a homesteader, your manure pile is like a niche flex, right? It is. So we've already taken all we need for this year. This here, like it's actually like the bank is built up. This is all could be scooped away. And this is what they had taken out this year. And Marius was leaving it out like this, and then he was going to pile it up later. But in the fall, he's going to take all this and put it on the big garden because we haven't put any on the big garden in a couple years. So it's a lot of work to take care of cows in winter, but they give you lots of good stuff for your garden. Do you see Jessa? Should we go to the big garden? Should we go to the big garden? You want to walk to the big garden? You can hold the camera. We got to walk. Okay, my turn to hold it. Thank you. So if you're looking, there's our house. Behind the house was the berry garden. There's the raised bed garden. There's the greenhouse. And then we follow down beyond the cow barn where we milk. What's up? Oh, okay. There's a chicken trying to lay an egg in there and they want to leave her alone. Okay, so the big garden's down here. Right now, goats and our pen of male coonies are in here. Have I shown you guys our coonies yet? We have a boar and 2 gilts, and then we have 3 barrows. So we have 2 barrows and the boar in here with the goats, and the other pen has 2 gilts and a barrow because we're not ready for them to breed yet. This is Oscar, and he's a barrow. Hi, Oscar. This is Samson, and he's our boar. Yeah. And I think that's Bigfoot. Are you Bigfoot? I think so. Or Snoopy. I can't remember. Anyhow, it's the most hilarious electric fence that keeps him in. This is what keeps them in. Like, this is like barely. Well, here, let's show Amos for reference. Are you eating dirt? Can we not? That's not. Oh, that's so gross. Spit it out, please. Oh, man. Okay, so look at how high it is on Amos. And this one's for the goats. So these 2 are necessary for the goats, and that one middle one's for the pigs. Because you can see how small they are. I'm going to keep holding it. Let's walk to the big garden. Let's keep going. Anyhow, and there's goats in there somewhere. So we get them to graze around some of our haying equipment to keep the thistles and everything down. So this field was just replanted. We have been working on it. The first year we lived here, it was right before haying season that we bought. We hayed it and we got a pitiful crop. And the guy who helped us hay it, he said, you know what? We need to revitalize this field. Your options are fertilizer and plant next year, or to do a more holistic method where we would plant forage crops and graze cows in it, and then in the spring turn it under and plant again. And we did that for 5 years. We didn't plant every year. We planted probably 3 or 4 times. Oh man, my landscape cloth's all over the place. Anyhow, so this year we finally were able to plant our perennial hay crop. These are rocks we picked out of there that are for filling holes in this road. So it has got like fescue and brome and alfalfa and the alfalfa. 5 or 6 different grasses in the hay crop. So I totally didn't actually show you guys the greenhouse. We got distracted with Mr. Gesh. I'll show you on the way back. Okay. The alfalfa is like Peace alfalfa, I think he's called it, which I'm assuming means like Peace River, Alberta. And it is supposed to be non-bloat. So when we planted the garden up here, we watered afterwards, and then we didn't water for a couple days, and somehow we just roasted our garden. Even though it wasn't that hot, everything that's dried right out. All the brassicas. Just a second here. There was a pile of brassicas here, and a lot of them died. So I'm direct seeding some more, and I might buy some starts as well. But also this thing keeps blowing away, which it doesn't normally do because we put a lot of pins in it. So this up here, I can't quite remember what's going to be planted up here. This is all brassicas, and then there's 2 rows of green beans. So brassicas meaning cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli. So we have to replant a lot of them. That was pretty crappy. It was a combination of like too dry but also freezing, and they just did not like it. Yeah, but we go see the other pigs? Yeah, let's go see the other pigs. So then we have potatoes. We have 5 rows of French, which are purple skin, white flesh that Marius's family's grown forever. I don't know. I've tried to find the seed or like some sort of other variety and cannot find what they're actually called other than French. Then we have 5 rows of Siglinda, which is like a Yukon Gold. And then we have 4 rows of Kariba, which is a really good keeper. It's like a purpley red skin, white flesh, amazing keeper. It doesn't always yield well, but we just want to keep it going because the seed's been in Marius's family for a long time. And then we have a red skin early, 2 rows of that. So I think it's about right here. And it's a super early variety, so it's the first one we're eating. They're not amazing keepers, but they're so delicious and they're early eating. So then here you can just barely see my little onions. And what I need to do, I planted onions before I went away, is I'm planting a row of carrots beside each row of onions to help protect them from the carrot rust fly. Now, down here, we then have our snap peas. We don't grow shelling peas, we only grow snap peas, and they are just starting to come up. You see the girl pigs? So here we have Snoopy and Dolly, and Dixie is the black one over there. So their main house and winter pen is here, but they go all down in here. Actually, I did show you guys our coonies, but I just hadn't shown you them out grazing. The thing about coonies, in case you didn't watch that video, is that they're a grazing pig. So in winter they eat hay, and in summer they eat grass. They eat a small bit of grain in winter. We haven't been feeding them much grain in summer. You can't push a lot of feed on them. If you push a lot of grain on them, they actually will just get fat and they won't grow faster. They're slower growing. They still get a mineral like any other pig. They still get dewormed like any other pig. Someone was accusing me of not doing that, and it was like, no, friends, we still take care of our pigs. They just don't need 5-gallon buckets of grain every day. So they're super easy going. They don't try and get out. If the gate's left open, actually only 2 out of 3 even got out when the gate was left open. The other one just stood at the gate going, it's kind of funny. Easy going. So we bought 3 for butcher and 3 for breeding, and we just enjoy them so much. And hi, bud. Oh, I'm gonna hold it, but you could say hi. Yeah, you got a dirty face now. Let's walk back up to the greenhouse. So as you can tell in this garden, it's very much like row crops. Rows of this, rows of that. Whereas the kitchen garden is like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You gonna hold my hand? So because, do you wanna hold my hand? You're wet and dirty, I'm not carrying you. I could hold your hand. Yeah, let's hold hands. It's a tough decision for him. So we are working towards livestock that are less dependent on external inputs. And by this, I mean like grass-fed cows that don't eat grain. And it's not because we're like super convicted about grass-fed being healthier for you. It's that we don't want cows who are reliant on eating so much grain that we have to purchase because it doesn't grow here. It doesn't grow very well where we live. We can't grow it ourselves. Whereas when you have cows that primarily just eat grass, if something happens and you can't get grain because, hello, 2020, when you couldn't buy everything you wanted, we want our cows to still be able to thrive. So maybe they would produce less milk. They would produce less milk if we went from like feeding them a bit of grain to feeding them no grain, but they wouldn't crash and burn and get so skinny and die, basically. Because we've had cows that they eat so much grain, and if they didn't get that much grain, they just wither away and die. So it's the same with the pigs. pigs, and when you keep breeder pigs, they just eat so much grain that is so expensive, and grain prices are just going up and up. So why not have animals who are less dependent on these external off-farm inputs? It's more sustainable. You can go look for eggs, yeah? So yes, the pigs take longer to grow. They're 12 to 18 months instead of 6 to 8 months. We got time, friends. We like a slow, unhurried pace because they're just so easy to handle and so friendly and so easygoing. And this is what we want. We don't want livestock that it's like, kids, you can't go near that pen, because we had a sow like that. Kids, you can't go near because we're afraid she's going to try and break out, because she would freak out when you went near the pen, but she had piglets, and we need animals that are just safe with our kids. Hi, you need help getting in the hay barn? Yeah, you can use words. You could say, can you help me? There you go. Rowan, can you move that? Rowan. Yeah, Rowan's got an egg. And they're waiting for another chicken who's laying an egg. That's not necessary, Rowan. Okay, I'm going up to the house. Amos is with you, okay? Yeah, Amos is with you. You make sure he comes back to the house with you. Okay, that was a tangent on sustainable agriculture. Now, let's go look at the greenhouse. So back in the greenhouse we go. This is not a great greenhouse. Like, it's not airtight. We have these cold frames that kind of work, but we got so many frosts, even with the cold frames closed, some of them died to frost. So I lost most of my pumpkins, but that's fine. And I lost, actually the zucchini did survive down there. So I have 3 zucchinis and I had 6 pumpkins. But you know what? It probably was too much space, too many pumpkins for that space anyways. The Lord knows all things. So let's go into the greenhouse if we can navigate through all this stuff. So we planted mostly cucumbers. Tomatoes and peppers do so-so in here, and cucumbers do amazing. We love eating fresh cucumbers. Like pickling cucumbers. We like fermenting cucumbers. I actually freeze-dried cucumbers last year. So we love tzatziki dip. And my mom's tzatziki recipe, like the one I've always made, or really anyone, you need to strain the yogurt first, or you need to start with Greek yogurt because you need to be thick, or you can start with sour cream. Usually it's yogurt. Sometimes I'm decadent and I use sour cream. And the cucumber, you have to shred it and then you have to drain it because it can't be too wet. So when you use freeze-dried things need moisture to absorb, and it's already like bone dry. So you put the freeze-dried cucumber in with the yogurt along with your garlic and your dill and your lemon for your tzatziki. You let it sit for the cucumber to rehydrate, and it soaks up all the excess moisture of the yogurt, and you have nice thick tzatziki. So I only did a quart jar of freeze-dried cucumbers last year, and we need a lot more of that. That was 1 tray and it did a quart jar. We need a lot more than that because we really loved it, especially when you get to spring and you're craving those like fresh meals, and you want to have things like that. Definitely need to do that. Okay, so let's show you. I mostly grow small cucumbers because we like little snacking size cucumbers. My kids will just eat a cucumber as a snack all the time. They're delicious. We like them. We don't want really big seedy cucumbers. So pretty much I just grow all small ones. You also, because it's in a greenhouse, you have to make sure there's different varieties in how they pollinate. So you got to make sure you're growing one that can live in a greenhouse. In front of the cucumbers, I did basil. We have 1 cherry tomato plant. I probably will grab another couple tomato plants, but I was just out with Rowan and I grabbed a cherry tomato plant, and she bought a pink strawberry plant, which is already throwing off runners, which is fun. I planted that one in. More cucumbers and basils. And it actually worked out that a dog or a cat dug up this entire bed. It was exactly like all these. So I was like, well, here we go, Rowan, we can do this. But I can plant another tomato there. Now, in the rest here, we got 1 more where there's holy basil, Tulsi, and cucumbers, and then also some spinach is coming up, so that's fun. I might need to, once it's a bit bigger, move it outside because it's too warm in here for that. Then in the rest of the garden, Marius is experimenting. He has always thought it'd be fun to try growing your own tobacco. So he has 2 types of tobacco. One is Canadian Virginia. We bought them from a website called like Elena's Garden or something. And Aztec Wild. So I feel like some of these ones ended up in here. Like the Aztec Wild is the darker one. This needs some water too. Anyhow, he's trying to grow it. Turns out it's not simple. When he transplanted them, they were all not happy. And also there's a whole like curing process and aging process. So we potentially bit off more than we can chew, but hello, my name is Kate and I love to bite off more than I can chew. The other thing I have going in here, which is kind of gross, is a bucket of banana peels and water. And this is for my strawberry plants because I have never super succeeded with strawberries. But a friend was saying how strawberries like don't need as much nitrogen as much as they need potassium and phosphate. And I was like, okay, well, if they have too much nitrogen, what do they look like? And she's like, well, they would grow really big, lots of lovely leaves, but they wouldn't do much else. And when you look at our main fertilizer, it's manure, which is super nitrogen heavy. So I put rock phosphate in the raised beds of the strawberries. But then I also, banana peels are potassium and phosphate, and they actually warn, like there is no nitrogen in this fertilizer. You make a tea and then you water down the tea and water your garden with it. So I'm doing that. When I said that I was like, Freya, can you please peel these bananas and save the peels because I'm making banana peel tea. And then I was like, Hamish, could you get me a feed bucket? I'm making banana peel tea. And Mac is like, a feed bucket? Those are disgusting. And I was like, it's fine, Mac. And he was like, but you're going to drink it? And I was like, no, it's for watering the garden with. He was like, okay, good. He thought I was going to make them drink banana peel tea that had been brewed in a feed bucket. I would not do that. Anyhow, last year we planted a bunch of fruit trees, and even though it was really wet, they didn't survive the summer. So we're pretty much just giving up on fruit tree farming at this point because all we're doing is wasting money there. I'm told I'm allowed 1 more year of trying to grow strawberries, and if it doesn't go well, then we just need to give up to a certain extent because I spend too much time and resources on trying to grow strawberries for it not to go well. But after Mary's told me that like this is it, this is your last year to try this, because like 5 years of me spending money on buying strawberries, and actually last year I didn't buy any strawberries, but we also got no strawberries. Okay, I'm just talking to my phone here for a minute. We order strawberries from a local farm and they're not doing it this year. So he was like, oh man, we have to succeed at this. You leave that be, bud. But then I found another farm that I can order strawberries from. We still want to grow our own. It's just like, I want to be able to just like have like a basket here and a basket there so that like you can just like have some on your breakfast and have some in ice cream and that sort of stuff.
Crackers, Mom.
You want some crackers? Yeah, go ask Bubba inside.
Okay.
The puppies, I don't know where the puppies are. Anyhow, I'll show you the puppies quick because they're very cute. And then it's time for me to move on to the next part of my day. So, have a lovely day, friends.
Let's play with the puppies.
So when they were born, they were like a pound, and now they're over 5 pounds. They're just over 3 weeks old now. So, oh, be gentle. So here's Chubby Ann and Poopy Dan. He's sucking on your finger. He's biting it. They're pretty sweet. I know, she's just so sweet.
Mom, go.
Why do you want me to go?
Because. Can we go inside of the puppies?
On the deck only.
Let's play with